Living with the production of a podcast of the same name, and that's available wherever you listen to podcasts. She also is a published author with her third book almost ready for publication. Has it been? It's getting close. All right, stay tuned. She is currently serving as an interim minister for the Center for Spiritual Living in Bakersfield. However, that may have some changes coming up. We'll see. She is sought after as a guest speaker, having spoken at numerous Unity and Centers for Spiritual Living venues. She believes we were put on this earth to be happy and powerful and express ourselves as the unique manifestations of spirit that we are. She lives in rural northern Nevada, Wellington, with her 2 dogs, 2 cats, and 2 horses, Mother's Day for sure, and enjoys driving her sports car, riding her horse, going to the range, gardening, cooking, and attending potlucks. Her message today is boundary keepers, nurturing healthy connections. So I'd like to also mention that Karen will be with us once a month throughout the summer, and I invite you up to the podium. Kim, please push the record button. Thanks.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's so wonderful to be here, and it's quite an honor. And I want to wish everybody happy Mother's Day, all of you, whether you're parental units for fur babies or humans, and no matter what your gender is, happy Mother's Day. And I serve as an interim minister, and what that means is I go into communities that have lost their ministers and do all the work necessary to facilitate successful transitions. That's the politically correct way to put it. Mostly it's grief work and healing work and forgiveness work. And then they go through that process, and then they start their search for their new forever minister. So where I'm at with Bakersfield right now is they've just started their search, which is a pretty cool thing to see. They're in a wonderful place now. So anyway, I wanted to add that little piece to it. And yes, today I'm talking about boundary keepers and nurturing healthy connections. And before we started today, I was talking with Ty, and he informed me that May is Health Awareness Month, Mental Health Month, right? Mental Health Month, yeah. And so I thought, isn't that serendipitous? My topic fits right into this month. And I didn't get this topic, I didn't create this topic myself. It came from Centers for Spiritual Living. We have this thing called the global themes that I use for topics. So today I do want to talk about setting boundaries. But in order to set healthy boundaries, we have to have good, healthy self-esteem. We have to know our own worth. So I'm going to begin there. It does begin, this journey to setting healthy boundaries, with self-advocacy. It begins with knowing our own worth. And sometimes that takes a while. So I'd like you to consider this statement. And this statement was pivotal for me on my journey. And just sink in with it for a minute. Oh God, help me to know the truth about myself, no matter how beautiful it is. Yeah. Let that sink in for a little bit. And if your first reaction to this is as mine was, and I felt some emotion just saying it just now, then you've got some work to do. Because my first reaction was tears. My first reaction was I cried. I cried that I would need a beseeching prayer to know the truth about myself. And I cried that I could not at the time know how beautiful that I was, both inside and out. Today I know this. It's been a little bit of a journey. But that statement just hit me the first time I ever saw it. So this may be a beginning for you. Because if we can't advocate for ourselves, if we can't know our own worth, we can't set boundaries and we can't keep them. And if we can't set boundaries and keep them, We can't have healthy relationships with people. And I was doing some research for this talk, and when I speak for you guys, I always consult with Charles Fillmore as well as Ernest Holmes, because he's my guy. But, he's the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, but Charles Fillmore is the founder of Unity. So I always consult with Charles Fillmore. And neither one of them spoke much directly about things like boundaries and self-worth, but they did talk about confidence and about knowing our truth. And they spoke about living in integrity with our truth. And if that isn't self-worth and boundaries, I don't know what is. This teaching that we have called New Thought, both Unity and Centers for Spiritual Living are under that New Thought umbrella. And it's been referred to as a liberation theology. And I've always really felt drawn to that phrase, liberation theology. And I've also felt drawn to what Ernest Holmes calls science of mind, which is spiritual psychology. And the Fillmores, of course, this Unity thing that you guys do here, practical Christianity. And all these things appeal to me in great levels. And I don't know why I wanted to throw this quote in here. I very rarely ever quote from the Bible, but it seems to fit. This is John chapter 14, verse 12. And it says, "Truly, truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will also do the works that I do, and they will do even greater works than these." And that's directly from Jesus. So the dude himself is telling us we can do everything he did and more. But we have to have this self-worth thing. We have to know it. We have to believe it. We have to have the confidence. And so I found this wonderful concept, and I found it with Charles Fillmore first. He talks about confidence in his writings. There's a book that he wrote called Dynamics for Living. And he talks about faith. And I thought it was so cool that one of the songs that you lovely folks in the music team sang this morning started out with "I Am Faith." Charles Fillmore talks about faith in his book, and he says that faith is innate self-confidence. He said, confidence is a form of faith. He said that faith is not just a religious thing. In fact, he said, really, it's not much of a religious thing at all. Here's a quote from him. He said, "The idea that faith is something that has to do only with one's religious experience is incorrect. Faith is a faculty of the mind that finds its most perfect expression in the spiritual nature. In order to bring out one's whole character, it should be developed in all its phases. That it is a power is self-evident. People who have faith in themselves achieve far more than those who do not believe in their own ability. We call this self-faith innate confidence." So I thought that was wonderful, because here we have Charles Fillmore telling us, yes, we should have faith, but what are we having faith in? We have faith in ourselves. We have faith in the divinity within ourselves. And from that faith, we get our consciousness. And both of these teachings, they emphasize the Christ consciousness within us. In Science of Mind, we speak of our divine nature. And in Unity, we speak of the divine spark within. And I bring all this in to one spiritual principle that is near and dear to my heart. And it's called oneness. Oneness says God is everywhere present, including and especially in and as and through us. That's oneness. And I think what both of these teachings are trying to tell us here is that we are worthy simply by virtue of the fact that we are one with Spirit. We are, as Ernest Holmes likes to say, individualized physical manifestations of Spirit. Now, intellectually, I'm sure that many of you can grab hold of this concept. Oh yeah, sure, I got it. God is one. God is within me. God's everywhere present. Yep, got it. But how many of us can go within and settle in and get quiet and have that intellectual knowingness drop from our head down to our heart space? How many of us can actually feel and know and believe in that presence of God within us? I know I'm working with several people right now that simply can't go there. And guess what? Their levels of self-worth don't serve them very well. So you might want to think about this concept in terms of how much of me is in God and how much of God is in me, and how much is my self-worth. You know, God doesn't think it's not worthy. God knows it's worthy. God shines bright. You never see unworthiness in God. It's a really cool place to be in when we can move into this place of oneness and get this belief at the heart space level of oneness and know that we really are truly beautiful emanations of God, divine children, little bundles of godlings walking around, and feel this worthiness and have this ability and have it almost be like a flash of light, spiritual awakening kind of a thing when we get this and we understand this, and all of a sudden we're perceiving things that have happened in our life a little bit differently. And you know, in the psychological world, they call this reframing. And we've just done all this spiritually, not through psychology, but spiritually. We've done this reframing thing. We're worthy now. And so that's a pretty cool place to be. And when we get that worthiness, that healthy self-esteem, then we have confidence in the ability to maintain a positive outlook, even if our expectations are not met. Even if life gets kind of sucky sometimes, we can still maintain that healthy, positive outlook. When we have healthy self-esteem, we're more open to feedback and growth opportunities. And a good sense of self-worth allows us to set and keep boundaries. It's all part of the cycle. Self-worth allows us to set boundaries, and setting boundaries in turn builds up our self-worth. Ernest Holmes talks about this idea that, faith leads to confidence, leads to self-worth, leads to healthy boundaries, which takes us back into self-worth again. And you know what I discovered? Either Ernest Holmes copied Charles Fillmore or Charles Fillmore copied Ernest Holmes. Because Holmes says, so I read you that quote from Charles Fillmore a little while ago. Here's what Holmes said. The idea that faith has only to do with our religious experience is a mistake. Faith is a faculty of the mind. Copied it, or somebody copied somebody. Faith is a faculty of the mind that finds its highest expression in the religious attitude. But the man who has faith in his own ability accomplishes far more than the one who has no confidence in himself. Those who have great faith have great power. And I just think it's wonderful that these two spiritual giants are quoting one another. Maybe they had a chat over coffee one day, I don't know. But I just think it's wonderful that they're both talking about the same principle in their work. Those who have faith in themselves accomplish far more than people who don't. And again, we're getting pointed to oneness. We're getting pointed to the fact that having faith in ourselves, we have that faith in ourselves because we are divine expressions of spirit. So ask yourself, would God have low self-esteem or lack of confidence or lack of faith in itself? I don't think so. I don't think so. And in the beginning, God spoke and stuff got created. That's confidence. And we have our beautiful prayer chaplain here who speaks her word. And she speaks it with confidence. And when she does so, stuff gets created. That all comes from faith. It's faith in the God within ourselves. And it's also faith of the God within ourselves. Because it's all one. Setting healthy boundaries when we have this self-worth and this faith in ourselves and this confidence means that we say yes when we want to, we say no when we want to, and we're okay with that. When we lack confidence, we might say yes because we want people to like us. And then when we're engaged in whatever we said yes to, we get a resentment because we really did not want to do it. We wanted to say no. Now, if we had that faith and that self-worth and that confidence, guess what? We would know people would like us. And if they didn't like us, because there's a lid for every pot, if they didn't like us, it's okay. It's okay. Lack of healthy boundaries also shows up in our relationships. We might let people take advantage of us. We might let them abuse us or gaslight us or disrespect us. This is all part of not having any confidence in ourselves, not having any sense of self-worth, and not having any faith in ourselves. When we have confidence, we have clarity on what is ours to do. And here comes the healthy boundaries again. We know when to say yes. We genuinely want to do whatever it is we've been asked to do. And we say yes with joy and enthusiasm. And we feel good while we're doing it. I was looking at the faces of all of our lovely musicians up here this morning. They all have joy in doing what they were doing this morning. I could hear it and I could see it and I could feel it. Everybody who showed up here this morning has joy. I was listening to the conversations and participating in a few of them before we started. There was joy here. And you know what? That joy is going to grow, you guys. There's more people in this room this morning than there was the last time I was here. It's happening. That joy. So you guys show up in this world. We show up with this faith, and we have this faith of God, the God that is inside of us, that is part of us. And from that faith, we have this beautiful, joyous, serene sense of confidence and self-worth. And from that place of joy and serenity and peace, we know our truth and we live in integrity with that, and we know when to say yes and we know when to say no, and we know what is ours to do and we know what is ours not to do. And we align ourselves with that. And that's a beautiful way to live. That's a really beautiful way to live. So the invitation this week is, if you think your self-worth might be a little lacking, go to oneness. Sit down and think, ponder, contemplate, meditate on what oneness means to you. Think about the role of God in your life. Do you only think of God as something separate from you? Or have you internalized God as us? Or is it somewhere in between? Could it become something more internal for you? Or is the idea that God is a part of you so foreign or makes you so uncomfortable that you can't even imagine it? Just think about this stuff. Ponder it. Maybe read some Charles Fillmore and see how it feels for you. And then take it one step further and go, okay, if God's a part of me and I'm a part of God, and God's all good all the time, then what part of me is not good? We can think about it in those terms. What part of me is not good if God's a part of me and I'm a part of it? There is no part of me that's not good. And we can have confidence in that. We can know that. We can have faith in that. And from that, we can have our self-esteem and our self-worth. And we can set healthy boundaries with folks. And we can say yes to this and no to that. That's my invitation to you this week, to explore that. Explore oneness and self-worth and boundaries and all that good, yummy stuff. And so I'd like to take this into prayer, where I am once again remembering, acknowledging, speaking that God is everywhere present. I am knowing with complete conviction that God is all good all the time. And furthermore, I am also feeling and knowing and believing that God is, in its everywhere presenceness, it is living and working and breathing in and through and as me, and in and through everyone who is listening to this talk right now and beyond. God is working in the minds and the hearts and the souls and the psyches and the consciousness of everyone on this planet, because that's how God works. And I know that from this outworking comes faith, deep abiding faith in the all goodness of God, deep abiding faith in the all goodness of ourselves, a deep knowingness that says, yes, I am worthy. Yes, I do know my stuff. Yes, I do know who and what I am. Yes. And because of that, I show up to life enthusiastic and joy-filled and peaceful and with complete power and wisdom and clarity. And so I release my words into that law that has already said yes and begun to work on them. And I anchor, and so it is. Thank you very much.